This tiny device is running the exact same Linux installation on my iPad, my Android phone, my Mac, and my Windows PC. And I haven't installed Linux separately on any of them, so today I want to see how far I can actually push it. Let's start with the iPad, because this is probably the most interesting one, and definitely the most difficult. As you can see, I'm running a full Linux desktop on my iPad. And this isn't just some basic Linux environment where I can open a terminal and call it a day. I can install actual Linux applications. I can open multiple windows, resize them, multitask between them. Basically, I can use it like a normal desktop. And here's the nice part. I haven't lost my iPadOS installation. I can simply disconnect this device, go back into iPadOS, and use the iPad normally. Now let me take it out of the iPad and plug it into my Android phone. And there we go. I've got the same Linux environment running on my phone. But here's the interesting part. Everything I did on the iPad is still here. The files, the applications, the whole environment, it all persists because it's actually stored on this device. So I can open the same Linux applications, multitask, resize windows, and basically continue exactly where I left off. Now let's plug it into my Mac. And again, Linux is right here. But did you notice what happens to the interface? It automatically adapts to the screen of whatever host device I'm using. On the phone, it was running in portrait mode. On the Mac, it switches to a normal horizontal desktop layout. And once again, I can install and run Linux applications, open multiple windows, and use it just like I did on the other devices. Now let's try Windows. I'll plug the same device into my Windows PC. And yep, Linux is running here too. But obviously, being able to run Linux is one thing. The more important question is, can I actually use it? So I started testing some applications. LibreOffice worked pretty much like a normal desktop application. Then I installed Blender and loaded a 3D model. And this is where things started to fall apart a little. Blender was fine until I actually loaded the model. After that, it completely froze and stopped responding to my inputs. So yeah, Blender isn't exactly something I'd recommend running this way, but other applications were much more usable. Here I've got Firefox and Wireshark running at the same time, and both are perfectly usable. And just to push it a little further, I opened a bunch of applications at once. Firefox, Wireshark, Files, Terminal, HTOP, and VLC Media Player. And I could switch between all of them without any noticeable lag. So yeah, it clearly isn't replacing a proper computer, but for a lot of everyday Linux stuff, it's surprisingly usable. Now, what exactly is happening here? I'm using a Chroot environment with Ubuntu as the base Linux system. And because it's Ubuntu running on ARM, I can install a pretty large number of ARM-compatible Linux applications and tools. But the more interesting part is the device I'm actually running all of this from. This is the Trust Kernel Plug Mate. It's basically a small, self-hosted computer with its own processor, RAM, and storage. The Linux environment, applications, and files are all stored on the Plug Mate itself. So instead of installing Linux separately on my iPad, phone, Mac, and Windows PC, I'm carrying one Linux environment around with me. I plug this device into whatever machine I want to use, and that machine basically becomes the screen and interface for my Linux computer. And I even tried running a local LLM on it. And surprisingly, it was able to handle that too. So yeah, this is basically a tiny Linux computer that I can carry around and plug into different devices whenever I need it. And just to be clear, this video is not sponsored. If you want to know more about the Plug Mate, I've made a full review video, which I'll link in the description along with the purchase link. And this isn't a tutorial on how to install Linux on the Plug Mate either. I just thought this device was pretty interesting, especially because it can run Linux. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to see how far I could push this little device. And honestly, I didn't expect it to work this well across so many different devices. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.